Welcome to the Middle School Cafe podcast, where we're serving up fresh strategies and solutions for ELA teachers just like you. Join us as we explore proven methods to bridge the achievement gap and help every student reach their full potential. Whether you're a veteran teacher or just starting out, grab a cup of coffee and a notepad and let's get started. Here's your host, Carolyn Wall.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope you had a wonderful break and are ready to take on the new term. There's just something about January that feels like a reset button. Don't get me wrong, I love decorating for Christmas, but there's also something really nice about taking it all down and starting fresh. Speaking of a fresh start, I want to quickly share something new I've been working on. I just opened a free ELA community for middle school teachers that lives outside of Facebook. It works similar to a Facebook group, just without relying on an algorithm to decide what you see. The community is a space to share teaching strategies, talk through challenges, and support each other in building confident readers. It's designed to be easy to pop into during planning time or whenever you need a quick tip or idea. You'll find the link to join in the show description if you want to check it out. I hope you do. Let's shift back to the classroom and talk about what January often looks like. This time of year, instruction usually starts to look a little different. You've spent months helping students engage with literature and build independent reading habits. Informational text and research are going to show up more often in our standards and upcoming units. But before we dive fully into that work, there's a lot of value in making nonfiction part of independent reading. Before winter break, many of us were focused on literature. We were building stamina, helping students find books they actually wanted to read, and working to create classrooms where reading felt normal. That focus doesn't disappear in January. Instead of treating informational text as a hard turn when a unit starts, we can begin easing students into it now through independent reading. When nonfiction becomes part of independent reading, it doesn't feel like a separate task or a sudden shift. It's not a replacement for novels, and it's not something that needs its own block of time. It's simply another way reading shows up in students' lives. Including nonfiction and independent reading also mirrors how people actually read outside of school. Students read nonfiction every day. Articles, how-to guides, directions, often to answer a question or learn something new. Bringing nonfiction into independent reading helps bridge the gap between how students read in school and how they read everywhere else. When nonfiction only shows up during research units or test prep, students often see it as something separate from real reading, or that it is only an academic task. That's not a student issue, it's a messaging issue. If we want students to feel confident reading across texts and formats, nonfiction needs to be part of the reading life we're already building, well before we officially dive into those units. One of the easiest ways to bring nonfiction into independent reading is to simply make it visible. That might mean adding a small nonfiction bin to your classroom library or highlighting a few nonfiction titles on a shelf the same way you would a novel. There doesn't need to be a big announcement or a lesson attached to it. When students see nonfiction sitting alongside everything else, it starts to feel like a normal option. Book talks are another simple entry point. When you talk about nonfiction the same way you talk about novels, students pick up on that quickly. Share an article you read, a nonfiction graphic novel you liked, or a podcast episode that stuck with you. There's no need to tie it to an assignment. The goal is just to model curiosity and show that nonfiction is something people choose to read. You can also normalize nonfiction by how you talk about reading time. Instead of asking only, "What chapter are you on?" try questions like, "What are you reading today?" or "What did you learn or notice?" Those small language shifts give students space to read across formats without feeling like they're doing something different or wrong. Accountability doesn't need to change much either. Reflection prompts that already work for independent reading usually work just as well for nonfiction. Questions like, "What stood out to you?" or "What did you learn?" keep the focus on the thinking rather than task completion. The biggest shift is often more about mindset than structure. When nonfiction is treated as an option instead of a unit, students are more willing to try it. Over time, those small, quiet choices build comfort and confidence, so when nonfiction shows up more formally in units later on, it doesn't feel new or intimidating. Another important piece here is curiosity. In school, students often encounter nonfiction because they're assigned it, not because they chose it. When nonfiction reading always starts with a task, it can feel academic right away. But when we intentionally build space for interest, questions students already have, topics they care about, or information they're curious about, nonfiction starts to feel more purposeful and less like an assignment. At the same time, we have to acknowledge that nonfiction carries some baggage for students. Many of them associate it with packets, highlighting sentences, answering questions at the end, or being graded on details that didn't feel important. If we want nonfiction to feel like a natural part of reading, we have to remove as much of that pressure as possible. Reading nonfiction should start with low academic pressure. It doesn't always need notes. It doesn't always need a written response. Sometimes the goal is learning one new thing. Sometimes it's answering a single question. Sometimes it's realizing that a topic might be worth coming back to later. All of that matters. Starting small helps. Short nonfiction works really well for stamina, especially in January after 2 weeks off. Articles, essays, excerpts, and single chapters let students engage with information without feeling overwhelmed. These shorter texts also match how many adults read nonfiction quickly, purposefully, and often in pieces. Format matters too. Nonfiction graphic novels are a great option and often underused. They provide structure and visual support while still asking students to process information. Podcasts are another format worth including. Listening to nonfiction still builds background knowledge and helps students understand how information is organized and communicated. The goal is variety. When students see that nonfiction isn't just one long, dense text, it becomes more approachable. Over time, that variety also changes how students see themselves as readers. When students realize that nonfiction can be short, interest driven, and flexible, they're more willing to take risks. A student who might avoid a full length novel might willingly read a short article. Another student might listen to a podcast episode and then follow up by skimming an article on the same topic. Those experiences build confidence. This is especially important for students who don't yet see themselves as good readers. Nonfiction gives them more entry points. It allows students to succeed with shorter texts, familiar topics, or formats that feel less intimidating. Those small successes matter because they change how students approach reading overall. Choice is what really keeps nonfiction from feeling forced. When students can connect nonfiction to their interests, sports, history topics they already ask about, careers, or real world events, they're far more willing to engage. Nonfiction doesn't need to live separate from fiction. It can sit right alongside it, with students moving between formats depending on what they're curious about that day. How we talk about nonfiction matters just as much as how we offer it. If nonfiction only comes up when we're preparing for a unit or an assessment, students quickly associate it with pressure. One simple shift is to talk about nonfiction regularly, even when it's not required. Mention an article you read. Share a nonfiction graphic novel that surprised you. Reference a podcast episode that stuck with you. When nonfiction shows up in everyday conversations, it starts to feel like it belongs. Modeling your own reading habits helps too. I often tell students that when I'm curious about something, I don't reach for a novel. I look things up. I skim articles. I follow links. I listen to podcasts. That's not avoiding reading. That's using reading as a tool. Most of the reading we do in our day-to-day lives is nonfiction. We read to solve problems, learn something new, understand current events, or make decisions. We read directions, explanations, reviews, and short pieces of information all the time. Fiction is important and fun, but it isn't the primary way most adults interact with text on a daily basis. When students only see nonfiction framed as academic or tied to an assignment, it can feel disconnected from real life. But when they hear adults talk openly about how often they rely on nonfiction, it helps them see informational reading as practical and necessary, not just school-based. It also reinforces the idea that reading doesn't always look like sitting down with a long book and reading for 20 minutes at a time. Reading is a life skill, something everyone uses in and out of school. Sharing these habits out loud gives students permission to read the way people actually read outside of school. It shows them that skimming, revisiting sections, and moving between formats are all valid reading behaviors. It also brings down some of the resistance students often have toward nonfiction. When informational reading no longer shows up only with directions, deadlines, or grades attached, students are less likely to push back against it. Nonfiction starts to feel familiar instead of intimidating. When nonfiction shows up the same way other reading does, students are more open to it. The wall comes down because nonfiction is no longer framed as different. It's simply another way to read. That alone makes it easier for students to engage without hesitation or pushback. Another helpful mindset shift is letting go of completion as the goal. Nonfiction isn't always meant to be read from beginning to end. Skimming, scanning, revisiting sections, and moving on are all valid reading behaviors. When students understand that, nonfiction feels more manageable and less overwhelming. Over time, these small, low-pressure experiences with nonfiction add up. Students become more comfortable navigating informational text because it's something they've already been doing regularly, not something that suddenly appears with a big assignment attached. This gradual exposure matters more than we sometimes realize. When nonfiction shows up regularly in low-pressure ways, students don't build it up in their heads as something harder or more demanding. They begin to recognize patterns in informational text, how ideas are organized, how headings work, how information is presented, without being explicitly taught every time. When research work does come up, it feels more manageable. Students aren't encountering informational text for the first time or as a separate unit. They're building on reading behaviors they already recognize. For many students, especially those who struggle with reading, that familiarity lowers anxiety and helps research feel more approachable instead of overwhelming. January doesn't have to be the point in the year when reading suddenly feels heavier or more academic. It can be a time when reading simply becomes broader. When nonfiction becomes part of independent reading, students begin to understand that reading isn't limited to one genre or one purpose. It's something they use to learn, explore, and make sense of the world around them. As you return from break, think about where nonfiction can quietly fit into the reading culture you've already built. Not as a separate unit, just another option for students. As we wrap up today's episode, this is really just the beginning of the conversation. Over the next few episodes, we'll spend more time talking about nonfiction and research, what that work looks like in the classroom, and how we can support students through the process without overwhelming them. The goal is to keep reading purposeful, manageable, and connected to the habits we're already building. And as you're thinking about all of this, remember the free ELA community I mentioned earlier. It's a space to share strategies, talk through challenges, and connect with other middle school teachers doing this work. You'll find the link in the show notes if you're interested. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. Until next time. Thanks for joining me today. As a reminder, a new episode drops every first and third Tuesday, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Be sure to visit middleschoolcafe.com to find links to everything mentioned in today's show. Until next time.